right? Part 7. So this time let's take a look at some other maps available, freely available to all of us in internet sources. Wikimapia is again something by Google. Wikimapia, you might be familiar with this. Most of you. Wikimapia basically allows you to add your own places to the existing Google Maps. All these red dots that you see here, these corresponds to like villages, very small villages which are not there on the standard Google Maps. Some of these could be waterfalls, like temples, typically any kind of landmarks or important things, schools, whatever. Important landmarks in the terrain are shown on these. So obviously you can see that once you enter the hills again, right, these green places, obviously nobody has knowledge about the hills, but sometimes knowing the names of the villages close to the base of the hills is very, very important for us to basically reach the base of the hill, right? Because I can tell you sometimes it requires as much navigation skills to reach the base of the hill through many lefts and rights and small mud roads than actually navigating inside the hills. So getting to the exit of the stream is not always obvious. Therefore, the knowledge of the local population who knows these local villages is very useful. So this is Wikimapia, which is again, more detailed than Google Maps, but again, keep in mind that this is done by individuals. Not all of this is 100% correct, obviously, right? So then we go to Survey of India, right? So the paper maps that you saw just now, I hope everyone had a look at those maps. So here you can see that the same topo lines are there as in the Google Maps. But you can see that in addition to the topo maps, much more is there. So here I think you can see again the major topo lines, 300 meter, 400 meter, 500 meter, 600 meter, 600 meters, 700 meter. And then in between again, I think it's 20 meter. You can see 5 small lines within the big line. So every line is an increase in 20 meter. In addition to that, clearly present, you can see all the streams. So no effort from your side required to actually start tracing all these streams. The major stream might be easy for you to find, but many of those small side streams are not that easy actually to see in a visual map or even in the topo map. In addition to that, you can see all possible village names will be there. Keep again in mind that many of these Survey of India maps are not very recent. This map is as old as me, 72. So some of these maps are like 30, 40, 50 years old. So keep in mind that when you talk about villages and temples and so, that you need to be a little bit careful. So, and again, see these dotted lines, this will be like a human trail throughout the jungle that actually starts from the base all the way up. So even that kind of detail is there. Dashed lines will be like typically jeep trails. So you can see that this is again like a stream. Here you will have a road. These are roads. These dots basically are houses and villages. So a Survey of India map basically has so much more information, like all the streams, ponds, dams, tar road, sand road, jeep track, 4-wheeler trail, walkable trail, bridges. So lots of information is there. So you have a very detailed scale, and this is like a huge effort. The government and Survey of India would have spent a huge amount of man effort to make these maps with the manual tools available at those times. So here you can see it 1 by 50K map. So 1 centimeter corresponds to 500 meter. This is actually zoomed. So this is 2 kilometer, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. So this is like 500 meters, 1 centimeter. So these are Survey of India maps. So these are freely available typically for Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Probably Himachal also, which are like kind of known trekking locations. Andhra, again, as I mentioned, will not be as lucky to get these maps that easily. So another important source of maps are the US Army maps. These are a bit older. If you can see the dates here, this is like say 50. These are actually compiled from different maps. The Army themselves has kind of compiled maps with their own field recognition, as well as they have used some Survey of India maps from 1961 for First World War, and some other sources are there. So some of the details, as you can see, are almost 1 century old. Again, same thing here as Survey of India maps. All the roads will be visible there, all the way from highways to simple mud trails will be shown. So very easy, I mean, very, very detailed maps. If you carry these along with you, the nice thing about these maps is that, see these grid lines? These basically will identify your latitude and longitudinal position. We'll talk a bit about this in a second when we go to GPS. But if you add a couple, if you draw with a pencil some more lines, then basically, I mean, if you know your position on the GPS, your latitude and longitude, you can kind of fairly closely know where on this map you will be. So you will know, hey, if I'm here somewhere, okay, I'm 1 kilometer below this stream, I'm 2 kilometers away from that village and all that stuff. So that's kind of very useful to know, because this map has so much terrain detail, which can be of I mean, use to you when you're in the field. Right, so here again, I mean, lots of detail is there. One important thing again on the topographic maps, both the Survey of India, so you can see that US Army maps are available for all over India as well as Pakistan. So India has basically been broken down in hundreds of small pieces. Every of these pieces is basically one of those huge maps that you have been holding in your hand, right? So each of these maps is again like 20 by 20 kilometer or something. So you can download this from online. You click on one piece and you will get, like in this case, the Venkateswara National Reserve Forest map. So which will again clearly show all these blue lines will be the streams. Those brown lines are the topography of the terrain. In this case, it's fairly high. I mean, fairly low detail. I mean, it's a very high scale map. So you can. It's not that useful, I would say, for really navigating in the terrain. But it can be useful in the sense. I mean, if you look at this map, you will see like here some rest houses. Rest house. You will see if you look at this line, this is actually like an ancient century-old jeep trail that goes through the mountain. So you'll see like some of those trails which are visible. Here again you see a rest house. This dot again corresponds to an old rest house. So sometimes you can identify some very interesting things like jeep trails, waterfalls, and other kind of terrain by using these maps. So for example, this is like the ruins of a 100-year-old rest house, which we kind of discovered by coincidence. We are actually not looking for this, but as we were walking along some very old jeep track, we saw probably some old British rest house with 2 rooms here, kind of almost completely eaten up by the jungle. So those kind of details, I mean, are kind of interesting from those old army maps. Same with the Russian army. Russian army has again broken down India in many pieces. Russian army maps, I like them more than the US army maps, because they are not stored in a JPEG format, they are stored in a GIF format. So here you will not have this kind of a little bit fuzziness, right? If you look at these maps, it's not that clear actually. If you start zooming in, the detail will be a little bit, I mean, you will get that JPEG compression effect, which is not that clear. Here your lines of your topos and your streams are much more kind of crisp and clear. Plus the fact that Russian army maps are 1 by 200. So 1 centimeter is 2 kilometers instead of 2.5 kilometers on the US army maps. So this gives a little bit more detail. Only problem, as you can see, with the Russians is that they don't speak English. So all the village names, Tirumala and some other, I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, it's not like completely foreign extraterrestrial language here. It's a little bit of kind of, if you know some of the, Tala, where is it? Lucky guess. So I mean, if you know the English names and you know some of the Russian alphabets, you can easily translate it into an English sounding name. So not a really big deal. And again, in the jungle again, you're not going to find village names. You're mostly looking at those peaks, 1000 meter, 1025 meter, and all the streams here. These are of more interest to you. Yeah, so let's stop once again.